I think often when we hear about self-care, we think about meditation or long baths with a generous glass of wine or herbal teas. But this isn't actually what self-care is entirely about. This is what I call passive self-care. Recently I've been engaging in what I like to call active self-care, and I feel like active self-care is something that we've been ignoring in society. Active self-care is when we push ourselves to do things that can take effort but help us to grow or be healthy. One of the important factors in active self-care is actually eating well. Eating well can be hard to motivate yourself with for reasons such as losing weight or being healthy, which are too generic. I've instead chosen some motivational factors that really influence me to stay on the right track, and I hope they'll help you. First of all, I think eating well is an important part of having enough energy to feel great and live our best lives. For ages I was feeling in a slump and I didn't have enough energy to wake up in the mornings and create some art. For me, creating art is an important part of my life, and to think that I didn't have enough energy to create at the time was devastating for me. I try to wake up at 6 a.m. every day before I go into work for 11, so I have time to work on my art, but that can be really tricky if I don't have enough energy. Sometimes I find myself sleeping in and not having that time in the morning then to create art, but since eating better, I've found that I have a lot more energy to be able to sustain my lifestyle. Sometimes we have to ask ourselves, is it worth putting in this effort to eat well? Maybe we will be spending more time on making healthy food, and you might think that gives you less time to work on your dreams and work on your business or work on whatever it is that you love spending time on in life. But the funny thing about eating healthily is that it actually gives you back more time because you have more energy to use your time wisely. Since eating healthily again, I find I have a lot more time in the mornings to create art, which is of course very important to me, and it just makes me a happier person. Another motivational factor for eating healthily is that making your own food can be fun. I actually find that sometimes when we're buying store-bought food and we're really used to ready meals and the like, we can actually forget how enjoyable cooking can be. You know, sometimes when all we're doing with cooking is putting things in the oven or taking things out of packets, it can seem like making stuff from scratch would be pretty boring. But it can actually be really interesting if you find the right recipes and ingredients that you can play around with and experiment with. Since becoming vegetarian again, I've had to be more creative with coming up with ways to get more protein in and make sure I'm getting all my nutrition. But I find it really fun to try new things and find new recipes and give them a go and cook everything from scratch, even trying to use ingredients I've never used before. Recently I've been cooking a lot of happy pair recipes like vegan steaks, which are surprisingly similar to meat, or other such meals like making bolognese from scratch. And I just find it more enjoyable than putting something into the oven or putting some pasta into a pot. I think we often underestimate how fun actually putting some effort and struggle into something such as creating food can be. I think we often try to avoid the struggle in life and avoid certain time wasting factors such as cooking, but the reality is, if it's contributing to our health, it's definitely not wasting our time. And if we're enjoying it, that's even better, surely. Another important factor with eating healthily that we often don't even think about is paying attention to nutrient deficiencies and how big an effect they can have on our bodies, or even how we feel. Some years ago I was diagnosed with a B12 deficiency, and at the time it was very obvious there was something wrong because I literally couldn't walk without my legs feeling like jelly. But a B12 deficiency and other deficiencies can affect you in so many other ways. It can give you low energy, it can make you feel down, it can even end up affecting something as simple as your eyesight. So maybe if you're feeling particularly down or particularly low in energy or experiencing any other weird symptoms, maybe try get a blood test at a doctor's and see, do you have any nutrient deficiencies, because it's always entirely a possibility. And if you find out you do, then you can adjust your diet to fix that. Of course, hopefully you're alright. And I think another really important thing when it comes to eating healthily is that eating healthy 90% of the time is what's important. You don't have to be a saint every day, you don't have to forbid any foods in your life. It's just about making sure that most of the time you're giving your body the right fuel it needs. I think we have this image in society of people who eat healthy on Instagram, and maybe on a weekend they'll have some grapefruit dipped in a little bit of sugar. But that's not our reality. That's not our own reality. We get to decide how we eat on a daily basis, and sometimes if we want to have a little cheat, if we want to eat something maybe that isn't so healthy for us, we should feel free to, because if we're being healthy 90% of the time, then our body already has all of the fuel it needs. After all, we're not all saints, that's for sure. I hope I've inspired you in some kind of way to try and take up your own healthy eating and maybe experiment with some new recipes, give making your own food a go, or even just choose a healthier option for lunch tomorrow. And maybe after a couple of weeks, you'll realise just how good the benefits of healthy eating are in terms of how you feel, how much energy you have, even how fun preparing your own meals can be. Even if you haven't enjoyed hearing me prattle on, I hope you've enjoyed watching this time lapse. This painting is called You Are What You Eat, of course. And if you've enjoyed this video, then please don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. And hopefully maybe I'll see you on the next video. See yous!